Hi, this is Dr. P to discuss briefly the misfortune that popular war games are rarely good models of war and in some ways are rarely good games. Popular and good are two different things, and we see that, of course, in movies. As I record this, Batman vs. Superman has just come out, and it's been panned by the critics, but it's made a boatload of money in its first weekend. In other words, it's popular, although it may not be very good. Of course, popular depends on the tastes of broader markets, and good depends on the tastes of individual markets. So when I'm talking about games, I'm talking about whether they're good models of the situation they represent, as well as are they good games to play. Popularity also depends a great deal on chance, especially of timing. Monopoly is a poor design at best, but it's by far the best-selling game worldwide, including video games. At one point, Mike Gray, who at that time was the game acquisitions person for Hasbro, who publishes Monopoly, said, "Okay, in Germany, what are the three most popular games? Monopoly, Monopoly, and Monopoly." And that was Germany, not the United States. Catan, formerly Settlers of Catan, is a flawed design, but timing and accessibility have raised it toward Monopoly-like status in mindshare, though not in sales. It has sold 23 million copies, although that's nothing compared to the 200 plus million that Monopoly has sold. Munchkin is a really poor game design because it's subject to rampant leader bashing, but it sells like crazy. Of course, this depends partly on what good means. Popular war games tend to be dumbed down for a broader audience. Risk is a kludgy dice fest, but it's not a horrible game, it's just not one that should sell like it does. Axis and Allies is an untidy mess. It's more like a conquest game than a war game. Of course, Risk is a conquest game. And it's another dice fest. Real-time strategy games, video games, have little to do with any reality. That whole style of build a base with factories, defenses, etc., it's not in any real-world warfare. It's purely an artifact of real-time strategy. But that doesn't prevent real-time strategy games from being quite popular. Popular video games also tend to be about athletic skills rather than generalship. Athletic wear, or even esports. It's that old 200 actions per minute that you needed to be really good at StarCraft. When I played Total Annihilation, one of the early RTSs and a really good one, I had to slow it down in order to be able to play it. I was never fast because I'm very tall, 6'7" originally, and I was old even then, you could say, so I didn't have the reflexes. The only way I could enjoy it was to slow it down. It was too athletic for me. League of Legends and Dota 2 are some of the esports games that require fantastic reflexes to be really, really good at. Mass market games, and when we talk about really popular games, we are talking about mass market games generally, usually have to have very short rules if they're a tabletop game. For example, Richard Borg once characterized it as no more than 2 pages. That's more true today than 30 or 40 years ago when Risk and Axis and Allies became more or less mass market games. But nowadays, people have been conditioned by video games to play without reading any rules, so if anything, the games have to be even simpler. One reason why mass market games succeed is a great many people think they already know how to play. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Most people play Monopoly wrong. Many mass market games are actually bought by somebody as a gift for somebody else, and they tend to buy things that they recognize and things that they think people already know how to play, so nobody has to figure it out. Now, few games ever reach the mass market status I've been talking about. I think that you as a designer are better off making a good game, and if one of those becomes very popular, all the better. But I don't think you can plan on it. Thanks for listening.